Does anyone even use or remember General Chop's noodle shop? If you're one of those players who misses 6th Street for its friendly and homey vibes, then you'd remember General Chop. He's a minor character in the first parts of the main story, and the owner of the noodle store Waterfall Soup, just next door to Bell & Wise's video store. If you purchase noodles from him, it grants you a nice little temporary stat boost for the next few times you enter combat, depending on which one you buy. And you also get this neat little animation of him making it for you. It's a nice little helping hand that can go a long way if you're farming or stuck against a boss you can't beat. There's been a theory that has been lying dormant in the back of my mind ever since the early days of playing Zenless Zone Zero. A theory which you'd see in the title of this video. General Chop hates his son. Okay, admittedly it might not even be that deep, but it's always had me thinking. Every now and then I'd come across some dialogue regarding General Chop and his son, Chop Jr., who runs the similarly decorated noodle store in Lumina Square. But to say their relationship is normal of that between a father and son would be a little bit of a lie. Yes, I know what you're thinking, that's right. As said by a random since deleted redditor, General Chop has canonically fucked. At first I thought I was overthinking things, but I could have sworn I read some dialogue that suggests tension or even hostility between the two. Dialogue I could have simply shrugged off or read in passing as I was doing side quests, but now that I dig into it further, it seems that I was right. The suspicions all start during Seth Lowell's trust event, Noodle Detective. Here, we run into Seth sneaking in some late night noodles at Chop Jr.'s Lumina Square branch. Now, it's important to mention that Seth isn't exactly the brightest tool in the shed, so this event seems to be a whole mental rollercoaster for him. While getting noodles, Seth points out that he remembers we have a similar noodle store next to our video store in 6th Street, and that both places have similar decorations. When we prompt that the store owner looks similar as well, Chop Jr. suddenly clears his throat, as if the conversation was making him uncomfortable. When Seth asks if he wanted to chip into the conversation, he exclaims that it is not that, and refuses to contribute any further. Seth continues to ponder whether the two shops are connected, and if Chop Jr. is mad because he's talking about another noodle shop right in front of him, because the similar names and appearance of the shop owners weren't already a huge clue. The game mentions while we eat our noodles, Chop Jr. glances at us from time to time, suggesting that our earlier conversation does somewhat bother him a little, but it is not elaborated upon as to why. Seth then resolves to visit the 6th Street branch to find out more. On his next trust event, we bump into Seth following on to his promise to visit the 6th Street branch. There, he is still pondering whether it is a chain store. Poor guy's brain also seems to be working overtime, and straight up asks General Chop whether it is or not. Again, ignoring the fact that General Chop is literally Chop Jr. with a mustache. Surprisingly, General Chop bluntly states that he does not have the energy to run a chain store, and states that he only has this one noodle shop. When Seth states that we recommended the 6th Street branch over the Lumina branch, General Chop immediately puts 110% into the noodles we order, giving a more generous serving of toppings as well as putting in extra care preparing the noodles. This encounter does nothing to resolve the suspicions Seth has been having, as well as my own. There's obviously more to this than meets the eye. A father and son running separate branches of the same noodle store but refusing to even acknowledge each other is wild. So it got me thinking, what exactly happened between the two? A couple of theories come to mind, ranging from an unfortunate falling out to General Chop disowning Chop Jr. for something he did. Though without further information, we can only speculate. The next part of the saga happens during Seth's trust invite, Humble Noodles. In it, we make plans to meet with Seth at the 6th Street branch. Seth mentions to General Chop that while he thinks his noodles are good, he usually goes to the Lumina Square branch because it's closer to the pubset precinct. Upon mentioning that he usually visits the Lumina branch late at night because he finishes late, General Chop seemingly acknowledges the other branch for the first time, stating his surprise that the Lumina branch opens so late. Keep this line in mind for later. General Chop then asks which branch Seth thinks makes the better noodles. This is a line that, for me, fuels the theory that I have that both Chops hate each other. General Chop's line purposely calls Chop Jr.'s shop the other shop. He then refers to him as the other guy over at Lumina Square, then proceeds to give him a generous topping serving when he orders his noodles. Trying to one-up another restaurant run by your own son doesn't seem all out of the ordinary if you have some sort of family rivalry, but straight up refusing to acknowledge him, calling him the other guy, and buttering up your customers when they choose your store over his, absolutely diabolical. Now, why would the devs do this? Why would they take a seemingly wholesome father and son duo and pit them against each other? Is a kind, loving family too much to ask for? Well, let's go through a few theories as to why. Theory number 1. They had a falling out. The first and most simplest explanation for their hostility would be a falling out between the two. While it does suck, the reality is that it does unfortunately happen. After all, if you don't fight every once in a while with your family members, are you even really a family? Chop Jr. could have done something to offend or dishonor his father, leading him to cut off his son entirely. Likewise, General Chop could have been the one to blame, and Chop Jr. willingly left to pursue his own path in life maybe. I remember reading someone's headcanon somewhere that the General in General Chop is more than just a name, and that he actually used to be part of the military as a general in his younger years. Maybe Chop wanted Jr. to follow in his footsteps and spend time in the military, but he refused and ran off to sell noodles in Lumina Square instead. While it does seem the furthest from reality, we will never know unless the devs gives us more information to the situation or drop it on us directly. Theory number 2. They're clones. The second and more interesting theory is that they aren't father and son, but instead Chop Jr. is a clone of General Chop. There's a few clues that lead credibility to this theory, such as the fact that only Chop Jr. seems to refer to General as his dad, whilst General has not explicitly called Chop Jr. his son in any dialogue, as well as the suspicious absence of a Mrs. Chop. Chop Jr. could know something that General doesn't. He could possess the knowledge that his DNA came from General, or General knows about his clone but refuses to acknowledge it, hence the reason why he refers to him as the other guy. Adding to this theory is an event that takes place during Grace's Trust Invite event, where it is revealed that General Chop's mechanical arms were installed onto him when he was an apprentice at another restaurant, because his real arms were too short and weak. That being said, isn't it a bit sus that his son just happens to have the same exact set of mechanical arms as he does? This theory would have had more credibility if Junior didn't acknowledge General as his dad, as it would have been funny to think that there are potentially dozens of Chops for a new Eridu, just like Tin Master, with them being something like the nurse joy of CZZ, one being in every city we go to. Alas, it all seems a bit far-fetched, and their relationship is pretty much confirmed at this point, so this theory is more or less nullified. Oh, and the arms thing could just be a coincidence because they both sell noodles. The third and final theory isn't so much for theory, but it's probably closest to the truth we will ever be. General doesn't actually hate his son, but is secretly supporting him from a distance. Remember that line I said to keep in mind for later? He works so hard. That line is the first of a few clues that start to steer us in the right direction. That's right, this fleeting moment of affection proves that General Chop doesn't really hate his son, but is trying to see what he is actually made of. I believe that General definitely holds the crown between the two, since he's been running the noodle store for a lot longer, and that Junior wants to prove himself to him. Apparently, if you interact with Junior at the Lumina branch but refuse to buy anything, he says something along the lines of, "I guess I'll never be like my dad," suggesting that he knows you prefer General's noodles over his. Another clue comes in the form of a description under a photograph during an event, where it suggests that Junior is keen on updating the family recipes. While it doesn't seem like General is the type to break tradition, it does seem like Junior's courage has rubbed off on him in a way, as during Rena's agent story he is shown to be exploring new additions for his menu. However, it is a specific event during 1-for-1 Friendships Fair that gives us the biggest clue of all. In it, we are sent by 1-for-1 convenience store to seek out a collaboration with Waterfall Soup. Because we suspect the General won't approve the collaboration due to it requiring pre-bagged soup packs to be sold at 1-for-1 stores, we instead approach Junior, who is more than willing to collaborate in General's place. The letter he gives us has a description which implies that despite not telling him, General could have known about Junior accepting the collab, but feigned ignorance as a form of silent approval. Hopefully somewhere down the line we get more screen time featuring these two. I know they're just NPCs that serve not much purpose but to man the noodle store to serve temporary stat boosts to the 10% of proxies that actually use them. But ZZZ has proven that just because you're an NPC doesn't mean you're forgotten. If the Racing Gravity Cinema movie event is anything to go by, which features similarly minor NPC characters such as Coco and Elfie, we might just see General and or Junior make a cameo in some sort of event in the near future. I'm sure a lot of people are genuinely curious to see how their relationship turns out. Maybe an event where they interact? That would be gold. The ball is in your park, Hoyoverse.